Thank you all for coming. My name is Toufi Salibia. I've been in crypto and AI space pretty much all my career. I recently was elected with the ACM to run a project, and I elected to found something called AI Decentralized. ACM, it's a not-for-profit organization. It's the #1 computer science, 100,000 members globally. And shortly after that, United Nations asked for help with their blockchain initiatives. Above and beyond all that, I work on a mission that can help each and every one of us. It's super exciting to see faces in the room and folks, they're here not for certain speculations or an increase in a crypto price or whatnot. You're here for different reasons. You're here to make a change. So when that change is going to happen, each and every one of you here in this room will likely take on a lead role in making that change. So thank you for being here. The current blockchain penetration globally peaked at 0.2% global adoption. So currently it's probably at 0.1%. That penetration cannot justify something that is revolutionary. A revolutionary technology can get to 20, 30, 40%. But yet, when you look deep into the technology, it has some revolutionary aspects to it. Why are we stuck at 0.2%? And how can we go to the remaining 99.8%? If I'm right, each and every one of you here in this room today not only will shape history, will also make lots of money doing it. It's great to see folks working together towards a common goal. And that common goal is a decrease in friction and an increase in efficacy. There's something that is global and that is universal in this universe. Anything that has friction doesn't have a lot of movement, any object. The moment you reduce the friction, you get more movement. That is the intent of the blockchain, and that is what's yet to come. And that's something that's going to be unstoppable. Now, why? I won't spend a lot of time on this slide because I bet each and every one of you know why. The promises of the blockchain are too good to pass on. So we can't think about it like, you know what? It's been around for 10 years. Got to 0.2%. Why don't we just forget about it and try something else and do something else? But when we look at the promises of the blockchain, perhaps the only technology that can truly get us to global prosperity. Now, I'm going to start giving you some examples of why we're stuck at the 0.2%. And we look at three researchers historically, what they brought to this planet. This picture here, this is Albert Einstein. Does anyone in the room think that he didn't bring good things to the planet? Please raise a hand. Fantastic. So he brought something that the light that we have turned on today in most of the nations across the globe is because of this guy. The energy that we're able to extract from matter wasn't possible until a free researcher like Albert Einstein brought it to this planet. Now, what did constrained researchers do? Using the same methodology, constrained researchers were able to create solutions that could destroy everyone on the planet. So this is Hiroshima. Now, why am I talking about this? And this is, blockchain conference. And for the last 7 years, most of the research in the blockchain hasn't been free as much as it could be. In some cases it was, some cases it wasn't. And why am I saying this is because if it was free, many of those smart, intelligent people would have been able to get us from the 0.2% to the 20, 30, and possibly to the remaining 99.8%. What is it stuck on? And if you ask almost every research center, every R&D folks that they're working on current blockchain problems, what they're trying to solve, many would start by saying scalability. And what are they trying to scale is a ledger. I'm sorry, that is constrained. It's not about the ledger. The entire intent of this technology is to enable each and every Homo sapien to hold value and transmit value without any intermediary. Why? Because when you have an intermediary, they're either less security, they're going to steal your money or steal your valuables, or they're going to charge you fees, or they're going to hold you hostage by giving it to you for free fees, but they hold on the control. So they can impact your election and so on and so forth. Electronic money was built to service people, but currently is being used as a method of control. And the intent of this technology is to give it back to the people the same way you have access to oxygen. Nobody controls your oxygen. And you don't want to control anyone else's oxygen. You think it's inhumane to use oxygen as a method of control, water as a method of control. Imagine you're mayor of a certain city and you're upset at them and then you cut their water intake for a week, see what happens. Or you suspect that there's somebody is doing certain transaction and you cut their oxygen intake. And that's called false positive in the current electronic money system. In one of the best nations on the planet, United States, we have over 1,000 false positive per day. That folks, they get their account frozen. False positive. And that's one of the best nations on the planet. I'm not going to describe the rest of the nations. What does that mean? That's an attack on security. That's a security breach. That's an attack against human beings. Those 1,000 people, they could be families, single moms, or whatnot. Money is like oxygen to them. But then, because it's being used as a method of control, and because it can be stopped because some speculations or whatnot, and people there just freeze their accounts. So a better security system is a system that enables folks that they have earned their money to not have anyone else control their money. The same way you have earned the right to breathe oxygen. So this is important because if we don't get through this philosophical thing, we're never ever going to make it to be successful in the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So, the next slide will work in the next, hopefully 5 minutes. Until then, let's sing a song. If you can, all right. So the fintech problems that I've just described, currently any electronic money system that exists in the world today is sitting on infrastructure that doesn't enable you to deliver as much as you want to deliver. It ends up extracting value every time money is being transmitted from one person to the next. Effectively, if you were to give the donations today, let's say to a country called Madagascar, $10 million in electronic money, and you were to trace that money and see what happens in 3 years to that money. It turns out that over 90% of the money gets extracted out without them having to pay and buy any products from outside of that nation, which means it's going to reduce their chances towards prosperity, which means for many, when I say that, they'd be like, oh, okay, so are you like the United Nations now, trying to make, global prosperity, whatnot? It's not about altruism alone. It's about opportunity, business opportunity. Each and every one of you, when you look at Madagascar, they have GDP per capita $1,560 per year. However, if you know that there's a way that that GDP per capita can become $15,000, and there's a way when it becomes $15,000, you make 20% of that by selling them products, fridges, and so on and so forth. That's twice more their entire GDP today. The opportunity is huge. And for every nation, everywhere that you travel, that you're able to see light and microphones and so on and so forth, those are nations that they could take that as an opportunity and not see it as a threat. And that's what we hope to accomplish with the blockchain. On fintech alone, the same goes for all the other 149 different verticals. So global prosperity can be an opportunity for every business and everyone. And when you see it as an opportunity, it's much easier to then deliver, because if it is just an altruistic thing, just because it makes life better somewhere, it doesn't mean that you can have a group of people around you that are going to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning to help you do it, and 6 a.m. the morning after. But the moment you incorporate greed into the equation towards doing something that is good for the planet, you're going to have people not wake up at 6 in the morning, some of them are going to show up at 5. Greed is so powerful when you show people how to make lots of money. And that's what each and every one of you will be showing people around you in about a year from now. Remind me. So when we look at the blockchain, and many people, they're going to criticize the current blockchain, and they are criticizing it, you need to remind them that cars came first, then roads. When we had cars without roads, if you were to compare cars with a horse carriage, likely the horse carriage can outperform the car. How many of you have been in a car? Please raise a hand. So how many of you have been in a horse carriage? Please raise a hand. Amazing. So the horse carriage, if you're going outside of a road, you're able to go to great places, better than cars. And that's currently what's happening in the current blockchain when it's being misinterpreted, when it's being used as a database. And when you compare it to an old system, you're like, oh, look, well, this works better. Look at Alipay, look at PayPal, look at so on and so forth. Look at Visa. But what's yet coming, there are roads that they can enable every single blockchain to outperform older systems. So what are the 5 problems? The 5 problems, they're the only 5 missing problems. And if you look at all of those 5 problems, they don't include regulatory things, they don't include moral, they don't include any of that. Because I'm certain They aren't obstacles to get us there. Those are the only 5 missing elements to get us to global adoption. The current problems in the blockchain, little security, as much as people tell you that, oh, it's fully decentralized and so on and so forth, you start looking deeper and you find out that that security has been exploited or attacked at some point in time. And it's a semi-decentralized, not as centralized as it can be. When we look at current blockchains, the best ones are the ones that I criticize. So I don't talk about the ones that they are not even in my list of considered blockchains. So the ones that I criticize them because I feel that together we can make them better. An exploitation on Bitcoin started 7 years ago. Separated the mining from you to a different group. While that seemed to be an opportunity for folks to be like, hey, you know what, I can buy a mining machine, I can actually get those Bitcoins. It turns out that many folks, that they start that mining, they have costs that get increased, and maximum they can last for about 2 weeks, unless they're slaving people, stealing electricity, and stealing hardware. And even if they're doing that, the global opportunity with that is about $6.4 billion, because that's how much they extracted from us Bitcoiners. With Ethereum, $3.5 billion. Now that seems a lot to run a database system, but that's tiny when you're looking at an opportunity. The opportunity we're exploring here is $100+ trillion. But we have to accept the notion of giving that mining back to the people. It was designed to be to the people, and it will be given back to the people, and nothing you can do to stop that. So when we remove that, we get closer to a better security. What's better security is decentralization. True decentralization is when you have each and every device is capable of contributing into the governance. But how about each and every device is also contributing to the computation? Hey, then we're probably solving the next problem, which is the efficiency. Now, when you look at certain confidentiality and privacy, the world is built in a certain way that if you take confidentiality away, businesses cannot run. That's not according to me. So, you can research that, or show me examples of how the businesses on the planet can run without confidentiality. And you likely fail. Confidentiality is necessary for businesses to run. And I'm not going to talk about privacy because that becomes a little bit more philosophical. Some people are like, yeah, let's invade people's privacy. Privacy is a necessary element for human liberty. You take it away, you take liberty away. But some areas in the world, it's okay to do that. But it's not okay to live without confidentiality because you cannot run your business. So what if we're able to have a system that can give the mining back to the people, get the security, get the efficiency running the scalability using their devices, and then address the confidentiality problem. So the confidentiality today in current blockchain is that it's a public ledger. Again, please remember, blockchain is not about the ledger. Those that are trying to solve the ledger problem, they're constrained researchers. If any one of you is trying to solve the ledger problem, remember, what are you trying to accomplish? Initially, this technology is built for certain things, and those things is to have value to be transmitted without anyone in the middle. We've had technology that can transmit information since 1974, but it cannot transmit value. So what we did, in centralized model, we built ledgers. And then we went and used those ledgers in a replicated model to replace the dependency on someone in the middle, and that's 2008, 2009 Bitcoin. 3 years later, it got exploited, got separated, now the mining from the people. But it was never about the ledger. It's about the value, whether it is your health record, anything of value to you that is not valuable to anyone else but just you, you don't really need any system to manage it because nobody's going to ever steal it. No, you never need to transmit it because it's not valuable to anyone else. Everything else, and I mean everything else of value, will need to be transmitted, will need to be secured, and we need to be efficient in order to do that, and ideally without having to depend on centralized system in order to transmit it. That is the mission of the blockchain. That is what we're here for. So let's always remember that, what we're here for, what we're trying to accomplish. And ask those questions when you're implementing blockchain solutions. Can that be done in an older system like database or whatnot? And if the answer is yes, maybe you need to reconsider and do something that couldn't be done before. When the internet existed, before it existed, do you think anybody could have predicted that, you know, at some point we'll have something called Facebook or Twitter? No. We don't know all the things that can come, so it's not about only the elements. The opportunity that is yet to come when we're able to transmit value without anyone in the middle is unprecedented. And each and every one of you can take advantage of that opportunity, and I want you to do so. So, I guess let's talk about the fourth problem, which is the scalability. And many people, they start working about scalability, and that's wrong, because you need to have the first three: security, efficiency, and confidentiality. If you don't have these three, you will not need to have scalability. And you can't miss any one of them. It's not like, hey, you know what? We can run the system without security or without efficiency. No, you need all those three to then worry about scalability. And lastly, if you do have security, efficiency, confidentiality, and scalability, the last missing element that we need in the current blockchain space to take it to the remaining 99.8% is interoperability. And what do we mean by that? Every single solution that I have seen in the last 4 years that they put a protocol after it, and they claim that they have solved the scalability problem. You look deep, they've, you know, sacrificed the security, they made it centralized, or they sacrificed some elements. But they're different. Some of them sacrifice security, some of them sacrifice efficiency, some of them confidentiality. But all of them, they have one thing in common. They sacrifice interoperability. If you were to use a system that is ledger-based, and the person sitting next to you right now were to use that same system, you were to call it Bitcoin, the person next to you would call it Ethereum. How would your users exchange between each other? Are they going to depend on the 57 different companies that they call themselves DEX, decentralized exchanges? But remember, to the two of them, your users, the decentralized exchange is still a third party. That's not interoperability. That's more like building a patch on top of another security patch and so on and so forth to show that we have done something. But perhaps there's a way to address interoperability by design. When I talk about problems, it sounds very depressing. But if I leave you in my last 3 minutes with some aspirations and some hope that we all have, and tell you with certainty that this is coming over the next few months to a few years, maximum by 2023, will turn each and every one of you, whatever wealth that you have today, you can multiply it by 10 to 100 to 1,000, it's up to you. That's when it comes to address your greed. Will turn folks that they are resisting you to perhaps not have a business. That's the fear. And certainly it can make the world a better place. So those are components that you all care for. So all 5 are necessary. To remember them, the first one is security, efficiency, confidentiality, scalability, interoperability. I mentioned that yesterday. I'll mention it again today. If you were to read them, they spell the word sexy. Those are the only 5 missing elements. And when we get to have, we have about maybe 94 elements, 95 elements that currently, we already have them in a current blockchain space. And those are the 5 missing ones. When we get to those 5 missing ones, we will get to an opportunity to power 99.8% of the planet remaining. So, from where I stand, I see this coming by looking back to 1974 TCP/IP and certain modifications to TCP/IP that enable each and every one of us to hold the value ourselves and to transmit that value. The network packet today cannot hold value. That is TCP/IP, but perhaps certain modification to that packet enable it to hold the value. And therefore, you can comply with any regulations that you want to comply with and hold the value in your device. Today, if you were to hold Bitcoin in your device, how many of you have held Bitcoin? So what's sitting in your device is actually just a private key. Your Bitcoins, they're just a number on a ledger that is in Sweden, Russia, China, Georgia, or some other place, that they are struggling with the current burn of electricity and all that and trying to find different alternatives. That's where your Bitcoin. How about you can have Bitcoin down to the Satoshi. Satoshi is the smallest unit of Bitcoin. It can be in a packet sitting on your device. When you're having a video chat with somebody in Tokyo, millions of those packets get transmitted per second. Now, all you need is only one of those packets to hold value and to be transmitted per minute. Is that possible? And the answer is yes. That's what I would like to leave you with. I will not discuss the how, but I can tell you with certainty, by 2023, this technology that you're working on today will be global. Use it as an opportunity. Thank you very much.